Why does God seem so disappointing, and why shouldn't I just give up on him and walk away? I'm at home today preaching. All my career, I've been trying to get people to come to church, and now I'm joining you at home. You talk about a twist of fate. It's crazy, huh? This could be a discouraging time for all preachers. I mean, God, what are you doing? It's hard enough to get a church to grow without you shutting us down. God seems disappointing. So why shouldn't preachers just give up and walk away? Maybe your plans have been put on hold, or maybe you've been forced to scrap them completely. Isn't that God's fault? And if he's walked out on you, why shouldn't you walk out on him? We're a people that love to make things happen, but what if in all our trying to make things happen, we have forgotten who makes things happen? As a preacher, I know what it's like to try to make God happen. I mean, if God doesn't happen, how is the church going to grow? So let's make him happen, right? We all have plans, even preachers. But what if in making things happen, we have forgotten who makes things happen? What if it is God who makes us happen? Now, before you shut me down, hear me out for the next 30 seconds. Have we not seen the best and the worst, the fear and the courage? Have we not come to know ourselves in a greater way? Who's making this happen? Have we not been all of us, been called away from our plans? Are we not refocusing our lives on what's more important? Maybe God is making us happen so we can embrace him making us happen. For too long, I have tried to make God happen. Can't do it. I've learned God makes me happen. Most of us have tried to make God happen. In that moment of crisis, God, I need you to do this for me. As if I needed to tell God what he needed to do for me in my particular case. Some have quit trying to make God happen and given up on God because he won't do what I want. In fact, he gets in the way of what I want. I'm done. Sound familiar? But what if God hasn't given up on us? Now, if you'll stick with me for the next few minutes, I would like to influence you to allow God into your life, specifically into your thinking. Don't let go of God. Let God make you happen. Respond to what he is doing. I want to give you 2 mental pivot points that will change the way you think about God and life. But you have to stay with me. These 2 mental pivot points may just change your life. Now, if a mattress company or hearing aids can make that claim, why can't I? We are not the first on the planet to try to make God happen. A couple millennia ago, a religious people were trying to make God happen. It was the first Palm Sunday, a time when Jesus came to the capital of these spiritual people where they proclaimed him king. This wasn't the first time. Jesus had to escape a group of people who were trying to make him king before this. The scene wasn't much different. Listen to his words. If you had known this day, even you, the things which make for peace, but now they have been hidden from your eyes. In the midst of the people trying to make Jesus king, the king tells them, you don't get it. You want me to bring peace to you, but you've missed it. You don't know how peace comes. If you had known this day, even you, the things which make for peace. Jesus said this to a people who wanted to make him king. They were the people who cried out, Hosanna to the Son of David, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And yet, before week's end, that same city called for his death. Crucify him, they cried. Now here's an insight for you. We will crucify a God we try to make happen. We can't make God happen. He makes us happen. So here's your first pivot point. God is happening right here, right now. Now, you can't have peace in your life without this fact firmly planted in your brain. God is happening right here, right now. We feel the need to make God happen because we're fighting God. He is making me happen. If I am a rebel who wants to make God conform to my commands, I will find myself fighting God. Fighting God is not the road to peace. God is happening right here, right now. He is making you happen. If you are trying to make God happen, the fight you are having is with yourself, and you're blaming God for it. It's not the road to peace. So what was God doing? I mean, if God is happening right here, right now, what was he doing back there, back then? What did those religious people miss? They wanted a Messiah, right? Someone to save them. Yeah. Someone to save them from the Romans, the oppressors, the people who are making their lives miserable. And when you try to make God happen, you usually are trying to use God to change others, but not yourself. Remember, the problem is not outside, it's inside. It's not them, it's me. Now, does this resonate with you? Have you tried to make God happen so that he could control your circumstances for you? Remember, you will crucify a God you make happen. But here's the truth. If God makes you happen, he will use you to change the world. The circumstances you are living in, you don't want to control. God is happening right here, right now. God is making us happen. If you don't like what you see, maybe it's time for you to be changed. Here's the second pivot point. We are more lost than we know. First pivot point is God is happening right here, right now. We are more lost than we know. Now think about it. Think about it. Peace. Do you have it? Peace is not something you get when there's no storm in life. Peace is when you find peace with God. He is making you happen. And maybe right now, you're starting to get that. You see the rebel inside and you want to stop blaming the world and everyone else for your problems. You know, deep down, that you are your biggest problem. So how do you find peace with God? Well, you find peace with God like you'd find peace with anybody else. Tell him. Talk to him. Tell him you're lost. Admit your ignorance and submit to his wisdom. Tell him that what you've done and how you've messed up your life. Tell him you need him to put your life back in order. Tell him you want him to make you happen the way he wants you to be. I mean, he is a father. He wants us to be his child, not the rebel. Now, this is not easy, especially if your circumstances have been particularly cruel. The people who have mistreated you were mistreated themselves. Messed up people mess up people. But it doesn't have to be that way. Here's what I invite you to do. Tell God, God, I'm lost. And I'm tired of trying to control you to get what I need. I'm tired of being used and using others to get what I need. I want you to remake me in your image. Please forgive my sin and make me new. I'm messed up. I'm messing up other people. Can you stop this in my life? The people in Jesus' day, they didn't let God make them happen. They tried to make God happen. But what they missed was God was happening right there in their midst. In the crucifixion, we see God through the words of Jesus. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. We're more lost than we know. Now, if you tell God that, you need to tell me or someone else. Email me. Pause the video and let me know. I'll have a link there for you. I can help you get started in your new life. Please push the pause button and stop. Let me know. You know, when we stop making God happen, He is free to start making us happen. Not the rebel, but the royalty we were intended to be. He will use you to make things happen around you. You've been granted authority and power that you don't understand yet. And when you have peace with God, you can be at war with the world. You will not be shaken. The self-control that God gives you will make you a rock. You will no longer need to control your circumstances out of fear. Your faith will cause you to learn so that you understand your circumstances. You will be the answer to the problem. You will be lighting a light rather than cursing the darkness. God will use you to change the world. So, what are some questions you can talk about with your friends? Question 1. Is the God I hate a God of my own making? What I mean by that is, did I give up on God because He didn't come through for me when I needed Him to? Can I trust Him to not only survive the trauma that I've had, but to thrive because of it? You know, great testimonies come from great trauma. And God's people are overcomers. And this leads to the next question. What suffering has God entrusted you? We are formed in the furnace of life, and the pounding of the hammer is not pleasant. But do we trust the blacksmith? God has planned, and He has a purpose for your life. And then lastly, what greatness has God put in you? Now I want you to think about this in silence for a while, for at least a couple minutes. How have you been formed in the forge? But I also want you to think about others too as well. Think about the people that you're with right now. What strengths do you see in them? How have they been formed in the forge? Now, this question is not intended for you to toot your own horn, so let someone else do that for you. But after a couple minutes of silence, I want you to talk to one another and encourage one another. Like I say, don't toot your own horn. It's much more fun if someone else toots it for you. So, encourage one another. Encourage one another, because God is happening right here, right now. Now, if this video has encouraged you, please share it. And if you're interested, I have another video that will give you a third pivot point, which I believe will rock your world. I hope you've been blessed.